We're live. Hey, welcome to the Anyone Can Farm chat. Found at the Anyone Can Farm experience on YouTube, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday for live chat. And usually I pick the subject there. Thursday is our interview night. We had a really good interview lined up. And unfortunately, it was Emily Rose. And her internet connection on her end wasn't good enough, or it fluctuated in and out, so we weren't able to do it, which is unfortunate because it's a really important subject that we're going to discuss. And what I like about this, it's an after action report, so it's not theory. It's what happened, right? And very important that we have good connections and audio visual, and it works because it's a extremely important subject. So we're going to try and see what we can do. We may have to do just an interview and then post it, so it won't be live. And if we have to, we have to. That's okay, because it'll seem live to you all. So in its place tonight, I don't want to just leave it blank, and I do like coming on and I like chatting with folks. I do not have a subject because I'm not prepared for that. One didn't come to my mind, I did make a video to inform you that we were going to be doing this interview tonight, and I'm really sorry that we're not able to do it because it's something that people need to hear. But I did make a video and post it on the tribe, and I posted it on Baker's Green Acres. Baker's Green Acres has a lot of people there, and I'm thinking that a lot of people are going to show up and they're expecting to see this interview, but they're not going to see the interview because it's not going to happen. So I think we can just kind of go over a few things. In the video that I made just shortly, it was probably about 4 o'clock. It was a live video, and my two youngest sons, Frank and Jim. Frank's the youngest. He's 11. Jim's 13. They were in the background, and they had a pig hung up off the front end loader, like a 350-pound Mangalitsa, and they were singeing it. And that's a process where we use a weed burner and we burn the hair off the pig. Excuse me, I just ate a massive steak, a hobby steak. But boy, was it good. Boy, was it good. It was about this big. And I thought, boy, it's a good thing I don't have another one of those because I'd probably eat it right about now. And then I went out into the kitchen to take my plate into the sink like I always do. And there were two more of them in the pan that were already cooked. Yeah, that took self-control. So what I did is there was also some soup going there. And if you could see it, it's probably a lot of tomato in there, but there was some chunks of meat in it and other good things. Oof. And I couldn't help, but I poured some of the drippings from that steak into it. And then I put some salt in it. Oh, man. I eat a pretty high fat diet, but it's all good fat. I hope. Anyway, in that video, I was talking a little bit more about a subject we brought up Tuesday night, and that was the homestead, managing the homestead and your family. And in that presentation, I try to communicate to you all how we do it. It's kind of funny. Joe, my second oldest son, he's the one that's doing the shorts and the videos and stuff, where we're trying to just bring farming into people's homes so they can see, oh, that's what these guys do. And the people who aren't farmers just say, oh, thanks, but other farmers are like, nah, you're not doing it right. And they just argue with you. It's pathetic. Who knows? Maybe they're not farmers either. But in this case, it's the same thing. Hi, Belva. Ben's here. Ben Carlson and the Crunchy Mamas are here. In this case, you may want to do it differently. I mean, your kids, do what you want. I'm just telling you, this is what we do. And I back it up a little bit with, my oldest son is a fireman, EMT. He's very well respected in his field. He's quite sought after by fire departments, and he's doing very well. He's just a really upstanding guy that you would, if somebody had to deliver your wife's baby or your baby from your wife, you would want that guy, And then Joe, you see the work that he does. My son Sam's in the Air Force. He's been in for 5 years and doing very well. My daughter Dorothy's doing really good. She's got a home daycare business. I mean, so these kids are doing well. Keith is in a special warfare program with the Air Force as well. They're doing very well. And so I kind of use that as like, well, this is how we did it, and here's how they turned out. Now, if one of them was living under the bridge down here from the house, which I threatened to send them down there many times, I probably shouldn't be talking about raising kids on the homestead, And you may, if you were to talk to my neighbors, they'd say, "Man, I hear a lot of shouting coming from over there once in a while. Kind of gets a little worrisome." That may be, and I regret some of that. But all right, Emily's on. She's saying, "Sorry, Mark. We'll try again." Right on, Em. We will do that. That's a powerful testimony, and people in this tribe need to know that. Okay, our tribe is expanding. If you haven't noticed, every day I have to let people in, and there is a situation that is happening right now. And someone reached out to the tribe, and we're engaged. I'll just put it that way. And I can't tell you too much about it, just because it's in work. It's in work. And every time we go through something like this, we learn more about the people that we're dealing with. And the people that we're dealing with are the same ones that I rant about all the time. The parasitic bureaucrat scumbags that seem to they really have a problem with people's freedom. They want to control everybody, and they think, well, I work for the Department of Agriculture, so I know more than you do. And honestly, without a contract, they don't have any authority on private property. And we're trying to help people to understand and break away from that cognitive dissonance, right? My wife corrects me on that all the time because I used to say dissidence. It's cognitive dissonance. And that's where, if you've been told something your whole life, and then all of a sudden you have rock solid proof that what you've been told is incorrect, your psyche fights that, right? You've told your whole life, that I don't know, man landed on the moon 1968, but he can't do it no more. You have a hard time saying, what do you mean they lied to us? How could that be? You're lying. It actually have a reaction that's not good. But we have to just keep saying it, and then giving the proof that we have, the anecdotal proof. I mean, this is after action. This is what happened. And then, of course, the other side can come back and say, we just decided not to do it. Our car was broken that day, so that's why we we backed off from you guys, right? When in reality, the reality of the situation is this parasitic bureaucratic class of people is tiny, tiny compared to the masses of the citizenry. And if the citizenry just says, go dust, don't you have some run along? Don't you have some dusting to do? And then, you have a big body of people that says, yeah, run along, girls. They will, because they can't lock horns with large groups of people. And I'm not talking about violence or anything like that. I'm just talking about a bunch of people who believe you guys are useless. Why don't you go find something to do? Just go stay out of trouble, but don't mess with the citizenry, especially in the farming community. The farming community, and you can't really, let's see. Let's say the intentional farming community, I guess. The intentional, that's a hard way to put that, because I have friends that are conventional farmers and they, above everybody, suffer from cognitive dissonance. Like, I don't want to be too personal here, but okay. I don't have anybody in my circle that raises chickens commercially. I don't. So I couldn't. I raise chickens traditionally, I guess. I don't even want to say organically, just traditionally. We raise chickens out on pasture, we process them, and we sell them retail to our customers. So a chicken that we sell for, let's say $4 a pound, it's a five-pound chicken, we're getting $20 for that. When I subtract what I have into that chicken, I'm making about $8.50 to $9 per chicken. Not bad. Not bad, right? I mean, it's not off the charts, but it's not bad. How much do you think a guy who has chicken houses, let's say he's got 5 chicken houses, and irritates his neighbors with the stink, and all he really does is collect the dead birds out of there, what do you think he makes per bird? You think he's making $9 per bird? How could he? When that same bird at the store is about $15, So how can the farmer make any money on that? So that's industrial agriculture is what we would call that. And I can't really include them in the intentional farming community. It's hard to do that because they are farming under duress, right? They're told that, if you put up these hen houses or these grow out houses, you will make so much per house per year. And then what happens is when they ship birds, oh, these ones were underweight, so we're going to have to dock you this much, and this much. Oh, you mean for the whole grow season, I only made $500 off of 15,000 birds? Yeah, but you didn't do it right. Oh, okay. Well, I'll try it better next time. And every time that happens, and the guy's still got to make payments on those houses that he built, right? So it's a kind of a scam, and a lot of industrial agriculture is like that. All right, I just put it that way. So we do better per piece than industrial agriculture does, and the better we do our job, the less losses we have, and the more we're willing to own the entire process, the better we can do, right? So I was going down a rabbit hole, wasn't I? And I kind of lost my thought. Okay, tell me what I was talking. I hate when this happens. What was I telling you? What was I pontificating on? Oh, it's not a senior moment. It's just that I forgot. All right, what was I talking about? Somebody, come on, Emily. I know you're listening. Where was I before I went down that? Uh, oh, those of you that are doing the intentional farming process, um, I lost the train of thoughts. Okay, I'll go on to another train of thought. Okay, so I made this video today. Okay, so I was born in 1960. Okay. Okay. Anyway, I made this video today, and we were showing my boys in the background butchering a pig, right? And they're 11 and 13, and it fits in with what we talked about Tuesday about balancing the homestead and a family. The family has to be, in my opinion, they need to be integral to the process, right? If dad's here working all day by himself and the kids are playing video games, dad's not going to be happy with those kids. If dad and the kids are both toiling over the same goal, we have something in common. We actually have fellowship together. And as a matter of fact, today, my boys have been looking at how can the homestead compete with industrial agriculture? Oh, easy, easy. The homesteaders and small farms are doing really well. They can do really well. Oh, I know. We were talking about cognitive dissonance, and it's the cognitive. So let me finish that one. Okay, the cognitive dissonance that that these agencies know better. You know, like you as the homesteader are engaged in a process that you're working on, and then we have these people that get out of college, need a job, so they go to work for the Department of Ag, and all of a sudden they become the experts. And we, good, faithful, righteous American citizens, we have a tendency to yield to officialdom, right? So they're driving a state car, they got a little ID card, they're dressed nicely. We have a tendency to yield to them. And that would be okay. It's just that the bureaucratic parasite class has become increasingly abusive. Like they really don't know what their job is. They just crave authority, right? And we I got 30 pearl guineas this week. What? I got 30 pearl guineas this week. Okay, good. And to get people through that, to not yield to them, uh, is a challenge because the state car comes up the driveway, the wiener gets out with a official looking ID, and you feel as though I guess I better help them out. I guess I better, and they'll say, hey, we're from the da 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 da, and we'd like to take a look around. They're asking for permission to look around, by the way, because on private property, right, which is a Fourth Amendment issue, the only way they have authority on private property is if you give it to them. That means we'd like to look around. Oh, by all means, come and look around. You're inviting them to come and look around, where you could say, we'd like to look around. And I might say something like, okay, I'd like to look around in your house too. So have me over, feed me dinner. I'll look around, and then maybe I'll let you look around my house. Oh, you can't look around my house. Well, why can you look around mine? You can't get a warrant, or you need permission, but you're not going to get permission because you offer nothing. You offer me nothing. Oh, we'd like to come look around. And if we like the looks of your property, we're going to give you $500 right here. I got 5 $100 bills. If I like it, I'll give this to you. I might go for that because I think my place is pretty uptight. But I might say something like, well, they'd say, we'd like to look around. And I say, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? And they imply that if you don't, you're in trouble. And so you, as the American citizen that knows your Constitution, the First Amendment, Second, Third, your first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights, you know that, you're going to say, you offer me nothing. Run along, hit the road. But it's hard for people to do that. And this is kind of one aspect of the tribe, is to inform people of what their rights are and help them to do that. It's difficult, right? I mean, for me now it isn't, but at the beginning it was kind of difficult because you really don't know. Are they going to throw me up against the wall and shoot me, or what? I mean, when in my case, every time they came here, they needed to intimidate me, so they'd always have the state police come. But I've always liked the state police. As a military member, when I would come to Michigan and I would see the state police, they carried themselves with demeanor and um, bearing and behavior. They sat up straight in their seats, right? And they acknowledged you when you looked at them in their car, like it's nice and shiny and uptight. They would tip the head to you, and they're in the Smokey the Bear hat. And I always thought they were uptight, and I've always kind of liked them. They've never been abusive to me. And then so when the state police would show up here, it was like, you're one of us. I mean, like, I'm a uniform wearer too. I took oath to protect and defend the Constitution just like you did. So I thought that they were my refuge. And up till now, they have been. So I am supportive of the state police. Now, I'm not supportive of some of the things that they have done, but that's leadership. That's their leadership has done some stuff. And I don't want to go into that right now because it's not my thing, but anyway, the cognitive dissonance, it's difficult to get over and tell these people to run along, but it helps a lot if you would you need to download the Bill of Rights to the US Constitution. And I realize we have new people in here and we have young people in here. So let me fill in the blanks here. Okay, we have local government, and that would be county. We have county government. And in my state, we have 83 counties. And wherever you have the county seat, they call it, that's where you usually have the courtroom. You have the register of deeds. You have the county clerk. That's the county seat. That is the building that county government works out of, right? So that's local government, county government. Then you have state government, right? And every state has a capital, and that's where the state government is. For us, it's Lansing. Lots of retards down there. And then you have the federal government. I'm showing disrespect for them. Yeah, I guess. And then you have the federal government. That's in Washington. Lots more down there. I'm not anti-government. I'm just, the people that we have in government right now suck. I mean, look at the job that they're doing. They can't do better than that. Anyway, it's important to know that because we have a state constitution, and then we have a federal constitution. The county does not have a constitution. The county has to follow state law or the state constitution. The state constitution has to, by law, square, in other words, it cannot be repugnant to the federal constitution. So that puts the federal constitution as the supreme, and that word supreme means something, supreme law of the land. So where it says in the federal constitution, in the Bill of Rights, First Amendment, says that you have the right to free speech. That means that you can say whatever you want. You cannot be incarcerated for saying my sheriff has big ears. You can't. Go to Bolivia and try that. Maybe not big ears, but you could say something about him. You could say something really heinous about him that's not true. And he could say, go pick that son of a gun up, throw him in jail until he wants to retract that statement. That can't happen in this country. You can say whatever you want. Now, you can say stuff, but it may have ramifications. If you walk into a theater and you yell fire, well, you have the right to do that. But I'm not saying that something's not going to happen, because you're going to cause a disturbance and you can be held accountable for that. You will be held accountable for that unless there is a fire, right? So you have the right to free speech, but that doesn't mean that you can't be held accountable for what you say. See? So it weighs out, and it weighs out pretty good. You can say that you can say whatever you want to someone's wife, but you may wind up with a bloody nose. You can make fun of somebody's ethnicity, same thing, might wind up with a bloody nose. But you can say it. But there's no law saying that you can't say it. But there may be ramifications to it, see? So as farmers, what we need to do is we need to continually be looking to the federal Constitution as the supreme law of the land. A lot of you know that my family went through a very intense lawsuit with the state of Michigan. It was the Attorney General of the state of Michigan was prosecuting us. And it was the Department of Natural Resources was in on it, and the Department of Agriculture. Department of Natural Resources, they were pawns in the whole thing, so I don't beat up on them much. I think there's a lot of dirt bags there, but every branch of government's got them. But really, it was the Department of Agriculture that set the whole thing up. And what they did was they set up a deal where they were saying that any non-native species cannot be in the state. And although that was way out there, what they do is they make an outrageous statement, and then over time they throttle it back a little bit, and they'll say, well, yeah, but you can't have, pigs are not native to the state of Michigan, but we can permit it. So we can give you a permit to have them. And that's what they wanted. They wanted total control of all the processes having to do with agriculture by permit. So, like, let's say you're on private property and you call them up and you say, I want to set up a kitchen. I want to set up a commercial kitchen. They'll say, oh, yeah, no problem. We can issue you a permit. Well, if they issue a permit, they can take the permit away. So who's really running the show? They have the final control. So that's why I say you never want any permits from them, any licenses from them, because without a license, there is no implied, you're not giving away your Fourth Amendment rights. They really have no authority on private property, or they have no authority on private property, only that you give them. And if you get a permit, you've just given away your Fourth Amendment, because somewhere in that permit there's going to be we can come on and look at your property when we want to. And I know that because I've been there. And it wasn't until I figured out that, wait a minute, if I don't have a permit, if I don't have a license from them, then I don't have any agreement with them. And the permit goes out the window, and then the Fourth Amendment becomes my rules. It becomes it's a restraint of them. The Fourth Amendment says that I am safe on my property from any unlawful searches and seizures, right? And a unlawful search and seizure would be if they come on without your permission or without a warrant, right? So you want to be looking at that federal constitution as the supreme law of the land. But people don't know that, right? And that's not taught in the indoctrinations. I mean, the schools. It's not taught there because with the Constitution, you are a citizen. Without the Constitution, you become a subject of anybody that's got a badge or a state car or a gun, right? So it's probably why I get along with the state police, because they're brought up in a paramilitary environment and they are taught the constitutional rights of the citizens. I don't know if it's reinforced enough, but I know taught to them. So part of what the tribe has done is when somebody is getting oppressed, we bring them up to speed on what their rights are. And like this thing that's going on now with this other fella downstate, it's when I tell you about it, you're going to be floored at how horrendous it is, right? And the poor guy really didn't understand what his rights are as an American citizen. The Fourth Amendment, they can't just come wheeling on your property. They can't. The Fifth Amendment, they can't take your stuff. The Fifth Amendment says that your life, your liberty, and your property, and your process is your property, is protected under the due process of law. So counties don't make laws. Dog catchers don't make laws. I mean, they may say that, well, I thought I was doing the best thing. It doesn't matter what you think. You can only do what the law says, and you cannot go any further than that. If you do, as an oath taker, you put yourself in a perilous position, because theft of someone else's property, that doesn't hold. That can wind you in a real bad place. Same as assault and battery, any of those things. So that's part of what the tribe is, and this is why we wanted to have Emily on, because we wanted to talk about that. The other part of the tribe was when I guess we were talking about bringing up kids on the I haven't looked at the red flag laws, and I think I would be careful with that. I think I'd be careful with that because you're kind of okay. I'm going to leave that one alone. I can't talk about that. And that is not just coming and taking your stuff. That is somebody giving testimony to a judge that you are a danger to yourself and others. And then they sign an order to remove your firearms. All right. And there's a lot more to it than that. Then it has to be followed up, because then they have to make the case that their actions were justified. So I know the way it's put out there, it sounds like, oh, ex-wife can call up and your guns are gone. There's a little bit more to it. And keep in mind that the people signing these warrants are judges. They're elected officials. And that is also the power of the tribe, right? Let's say the tribe is 50 million people, and we can put out that Judge so-and-so in this community signed this warrant, and I've got the warrant and I can show you. And you've got all these people who said, what? That's what happened? We're not going to vote for that son of a gun. Well, then he's going to think twice about signing a bogus warrant. A bogus warrant would be like when you have a law enforcement officer that makes a claim to a judge that something illegal is going on private property, or someone is in danger on private property. And let's say that law enforcement officer has never been on the property. Let's say he's taking it off of somebody else's say-so, somebody that he trusts. But the judge is saying, now you seen this? Are you sure? And he's like, yeah, no problem. The judge signs a warrant. Let's say it's incorrect. And let's say it comes out that that detective lied. What do you think that judge is going to do? What do you think that judge is going to do? That detective works for the sheriff's department. That judge is going to be calling the sheriff saying, we need to have a chat about your boy here. This is what he just did to me. Because who that reflect on? Not the detective, on the judge, the magistrate. It reflects really poorly on that. And, we really need to keep an eye on that, because if you have a bad judge that signs warrants and the public doesn't hold him accountable, who the heck will? Most judges are good, though. Most of them are. Most lawyers are good. They are a bit compromised, I would say, right off the bat, but most of them are pretty good. I mean, it seems like the horror stories are the ones that rise to the surface, and I happen to have one. I happen to have a horror story. In my case, it was the Department of Agriculture that said they wanted all pigs to be what they call under roof or in confinement. And they said, imagine this, they said, for the good of the environment. And then they said, oh, pigs go feral and they kill baby ducks and fawns and probably kids if they can get them, and steal cars and all this stuff. And the bleeding heart left. They lapped that up. They lapped that right up. And they're like, yeah, we can't have this. When in reality, it doesn't really happen. I mean, at least here in the North Country. If you go down to Texas, it happens, but that was intentional. It used to be that Texas, nobody wanted to live there, right? Because it's not great country. And so they would just turn pigs out into the river bottoms, and they would eat acorns. And then every year people go out and they hunt what they need for meat. And if you don't think I'm telling the truth, I want you to go watch Old Yeller. Now, I know it's not a real story, but a lot of what goes on in that is true. They would do hog marking every year, and they would eat swine that ran free. And now they call it feral. But even here in Michigan, what they used to do in the logging camps, they would bring hogs, and whoever was running the feeding facility, the chow tent or whatever, that was a very important position in those logging camps. They're feeding a lot of men. They would take all the scraps, all the garbage, and they would feed pigs. But they didn't pen the pigs. They let them run out into the forest. And the pigs would come back every night for suey. And then they would bed down. They like to be close to the humans, right? Because they're domesticated animals, right? And they didn't go off into the woods like, oh, this is better living in the woods. Not in the North. Not in the North Country. There's not enough food for them. So if you're feeding them, they're not going to go far from you. But the Department of Ag was trying to say, oh, yeah, we're going to have a terrible problem here in just a few years, because there's 5,000 or 10,000 of them that are feral in the wild now. Only problem was nobody ever sees them. So they just make it up. And that's why I have such little respect for them, because they'll do whatever just to further their cause. And you might ask me, well, what is their cause, Mark? I thought the Department of Agriculture was there to make sure the food is safe. Really? Okay, then I guess when there is a foodborne illness that breaks out, they're responsible for it? No. Do any of their people lose pay if it breaks out someplace? Mm-mm. How can they possibly ensure food safety in every restaurant? They come through and inspect a restaurant once a year. Does that ensure food safety? No, they just want control of the situation. They are actively doing the bidding of industrial agriculture, because they don't want people running a small family business creating food They are there to centralize food into industrial ag. Anyway, that's what they're about. And I have a real hard time with that. If they would just be honest about it, maybe it wouldn't be quite so bad. But they say that they're not. They say that they're there for food safety. And if it weren't for them, us citizens be dropping right, left, and center. I used to have those people come to my farm and do inspections here on my butcher shop, and I can tell you, they don't know what they're doing. They really don't know what they're doing. All right. So anyway, let's look at these comments and let's see where it goes from there. I know I'm kind of all over the place tonight, and you guys might have tuned in for something and you ain't getting it, but I'm sorry. Give me a break. All right, there's a lot of comments on here. Maybe I just listen to you guys. Wow. Okay. How can the homestead compete with industrial well, really easy. Industrial agriculture compartmentalizes. So if you're and I know this for a fact, I was going to put hog houses on this property. And one of the things that I would have agreed to was that I won't have my own hogs here. Right? They wanted just their hogs. None of them would be mine. None of them. But I couldn't have my own hogs. I couldn't even have my own chickens. Why? Biosecurity, they would say. Biosecurity. Right? What's that mean? I don't know. I don't know, really. Like, it's a bunch of procedures that maybe make you feel good, but if you believe in germ theory, germs are really small. So, I don't know. You've got a truck going down the road full of hogs, CAFO hogs, concentrated animal feeding operation hogs, CAFO. Going down the road, the air is going over these animals. When you drive behind those trucks, you can smell them. If you can smell them, that means a particulate is making it into your nose, and your nose is sensing it. That's a particulate that you smell. That's how sensitive we are. That means it's in you, right? And if it's that bad, you could be toast. But no one ever dies from riding behind a bunch of pigs, right? So in homesteading, I have the ability, if I want to, I can do pretty much whatever I want so long as it's legal, right? If I want to have a flock of brood hens and the correct rooster, I can never remember what it is, but I can produce my own baby chicks or eggs, and then I can put them in an incubator, produce my own chicks, feed them out, slaughter them myself, market them to my neighbors, charge retail prices, and make about $9 a bird. Or I'd make even more. I would be up around 11 because a chick is about $2 now. Right? Now, I know there's a little slippage in there, and I'm not really wanting to argue that, but if I was doing hen houses, what do you make per bird? I have no idea. There'll be 15,000 birds in one of those houses. And do you make enough to even make the payment on them? I don't know. So that's how you can compete with industrial agriculture. They sell it really cheap at the store, but the word's out. It's not fit to eat. And your health doesn't come from the pharmaceutical industry. Your health comes from eating good food and keeping yourself in a healthy environment, a non-toxic environment. That's where your health comes from, right? So, I mean, the cognitive dissonance here is unbelievable because you have people saying, yeah, well, I'd really like to farm, but I got to have health insurance. Well, do you think maybe if you're growing healthy food, you'll need it? I mean, maybe you won't. Okay. All right. Ghost. Good day today. A friend is going to let me use the raised bed garden this year at her house. There's about 5 or 6. Should be good for potatoes and onions. All right. Right on. Maybe she's good looking too. Blistick. How can okay. Sorry. I prismatic. I got 30 pearl guineas this week. Okay. We are from the government and we are here to help. Sorry, don't want your help. Yeah. And you don't have to, you can opt out. When they come and they want to help you, say, no thanks. Be polite. No thanks. I don't want your help. Well, we just like to see what you're doing. Hey, no thanks. I'll just I'll be fine. True run here. I don't need your help. Don't want your help. And when you stay out of it, you're off their radar, and you can really cloak yourself in the Bill of Rights. They don't have the authority to come on your property. I mean, other than drive up the driveway. Hey, how you doing? Could we have a word? What do you want to talk about? Baseball? Maybe. But if it has anything to do with me or what I'm doing, no. Just, I'm sorry. Run along. Well, we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. And me, I'd be saying, yeah, let's do this the hard way. That'll be a little bit more fun for me, not for you. All right. But that's me. Prismatic. That is the reason. Oh, this could be easy. That is the reason I don't want farm grants, even though I would qualify for several. Yeah, I've never really seen where a grant where it's written in. Because I never got one, but I don't see where there's an access point. But maybe you know better. I did get a fencing grant one time from NRCS to put up fences, and to be honest with you, I never read it. But NRCS is conservation, and they get grants from USDA, and they're just the agency that farms it out. But I don't really remember that much about that. Ghost is saying our guinea fowl for eating. Darn right. Guineas eat ticks too, and then you eat them. Donnie Mono is saying give them conditional acceptance. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm sure you all are aware of, if a film crew wants to go into a CAFO, concentrated animal feeding operation, that they're like, no, we don't want you to see what goes on in here. So they make up all these rules, and they use biosecurity as one of the reasons, right? Like, you've got a concentrated animal feeding operation, and you've got, let's say, 15,000 birds under one roof, and you all have seen the pictures of it. It's really congested. The birds can basically eat, drink, and then squat down and poop. That's it. There's no room for them to move around. It's really tight. And so they have to feed them what they call subtherapeutic dose of medication, not because they are sick, but to keep them from getting sick, right? And there's a couple reasons why they do it. One is to shut down their immune system, because then they can put more energy into growing. They grow them out pretty fast. I guess chickens grow out in like 56 days. It's pretty wild. And if you want to go in and see this, they put conditions on it. And most of the time, the conditions you don't want to fool with. You don't want those conditions. Well, they're worth studying how they do it, because, you can do the same thing. You can do the same thing. You are the CEO of your homestead. It is private property. If you say they say, we'd like to come on and we'd like to see what you're doing. You could put a condition on that, and it's up to you what it is. And I mean, it's totally up to you and you could say something like, well, okay, but I have a rule here. And the rule is that you got to take your clothes off on the front lawn, and I mean every stitch. And I will give you some clothes that I want you to wear. And then you can come in and look around. And then when you go out, you got to take those clothes off and you can put your own clothes on. What, out in the open? Yeah, that's the rules, because I'm going to need to inspect you to make sure that you're not carrying any weapons. Because, right, weapons, I don't want anybody carrying. I've actually done that. I haven't had to go to that extreme. But I got a story to tell. True story. That's how you can tell a guy's lying when he says, this is a true story. I won't lie to you, man. I won't lie. No, this is a true story. This is early on, and we didn't know anything. We had gone to the Department of Agriculture, and we'd said, I'm coming out of the military, so I'm a big rules and regulations guy. That's how you survive the military, is you follow the rules. If you don't follow the rules, somebody will ding you, and you won't make it. So I was into following the rules, I guess. There may be people listening in on this that says, I served with you, Baker. But for the most part, I followed the rules. And when we got here, I called the Department of Agriculture and I said, this is what I want to do. What do I need to make that happen? And they said, oh, we'll send one of our food inspectors out and they'll fill in. So this lady came here. I thought she was a lady. Yeah. And anyway, we got the certification after we wrote them a fat check, and they gave us a bunch of rules we had to follow, and we built the shop and There was a whole bunch of things we had to do. So I did it. And then we started raising our own chickens, butchering them, putting them in packages, putting a label on them. And we took them around to health food stores. Yeah, we'll take those. And they would mark it up and they'd resell it. And I was thinking, this is working pretty good. We had some at a store up north, and I got a phone call from the food inspector up north. It was a pretty decent phone call. It's like, hey, you're missing something on the label here. There's supposed to be this little, I think, a 4-digit number on there that indicates that we are exempt from federal inspection per a law that the federal government puts out on if you raise less than 20,000 birds, you can process them and you can sell them, but you got to have the okay of the state too. And so we had that. And it wasn't that painful to get, and I thought it was worth it. And I was into doing wholesale business at the time, which I'm not anymore. Why should I? Why should I sell it to a store real cheap so they can mark it up and make money off you? Why should I do that? No, you pay the regular price and then you mark it up if you can. But they didn't want that. Anyway, I got this phone call, and the guy says, you got to fix this. And I said, okay, what do you want me to do? And he says, it's easy. Just let this trit off the shelf. So these ones sell. The customers don't know or don't care. They're on the shelf legally. Let them trit out and then just fix your label. And I said, oh, okay, I can do that. Cool. Department of Ag is cool. So as a courtesy call, I called one of my bigger stores, and I wanted to give the manager the heads up in case his inspector noticed it, and also tell him the corrective action that I was instructed by the Michigan Department of Ag, what they want me to do. So it was a courtesy call to say, hey, we got under control. So I did that. And he was like, yeah, all right, cool. But he didn't trust me. So he called the USDA in Detroit and said, "What's the story with this?" And they're like, "I don't know." And so they sent two guys up here. And I don't know if I should tell this story now that I started into it. Okay, I'll tell it. I might as well. I started. But they sent these guys up here, and we were butchering chickens that day, and a car comes in the driveway fast. And the car is a Crown Victoria Interceptor. And I'm thinking, whoa. I mean, it's an unmarked car, and it's got the push bars on the front of it and stuff. And I was like, whoa, what's this? And these two dudes get out in suits, and they were real jerks, you know? They weren't like, "Hey, how you doing with..." No, they weren't. They were almost like, "Are you..." And up, stand, they started peppering me with questions, and I didn't know who they were. And I was butchering at the time, so I had an apron on with blood on it, and I probably had a knife in my hand. And I just didn't I didn't appreciate their over the top attitudes towards me as a citizen. And I don't care who they are. I don't know. You don't let people talk to you that way. And so I had a real burr under my saddle, and they wanted to talk to me. Well, a lot of people want to talk to me. All right. What do you mean you want to talk to me? Do you want to question me? Or do you want to give me a lecture? Or what? What do you mean you want to talk to me? And it wasn't, "Hey, how you doing? We're from this. Can we have a word with you?" It wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was da 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 da. We're from and these guys had stinking attitudes too. Real stinking attitudes. And they said they wanted to. It's like, "I want to look in your purse." Instead of, "Hey, may I look in your purse? We're missing a hand grenade here, and maybe it's in your purse. Do you mind if I take a look in it?" It wasn't like that. It was, "We want to talk to you. Like, we're talking to you." And I didn't take that very well. And so I like, all right. And now I'm just looking for a chance to take control of the situation, because you don't come on my property and talk to me that way. My wife and kids were behind me, and it was really uncalled for. They were totally unprofessional. I mean, their boss, I wound up with the phone. He was worse. He was worse. And it's the USDA, and they only have a few of them. They're the compliance people in Michigan. It's just a few of them. But anyway, they wanted to talk to me, and I said, "Oh, well," after I figured out that they were jerks, I said, "Well, hold on a sec. I got a question for you. I need to know if you boys..." And I used the word boys intentionally, and I just won't go into that because I knew that would irritate them a little bit. "I want to know if you boys are armed," because they were in suits. And one of them especially went off that I called him a boy, right? "Fellas, are you fellas armed?" "What do you mean, fella?" No, I called them boys, and I did it intentionally just to knock them off their little foundation. And sure enough, it worked. And then they did not want to, they said it's irrelevant whether we're armed. And I said, "Oh, is that right? It's irrelevant. Then I'll be right back." And I started for the house. Wait, where are you going? Where are you going? Hold on there. Where are you going?" I said, "If you're going to be armed, I'm going to be armed. That's the way it works in this country. I have the right to own and bear arms." "Okay, we're not armed." Maybe I want to be armed anyway. But okay, you want to play nice? So I come back and I said, "Okay, up your jackets." The one guy that got the most irritated about me I didn't call him a boy. I said, and I referred to them as boys, like, "Hey, boys," you know. He got really agitated when I made him lift up his jacket. So I said, okay, well, turn around. No, turn the other way. No, turn the other way. Okay, lift it up higher. Okay, now I need you to open it up like this. Do you want me to frisk you? I need to make sure you're not carrying weapons. Because I got a rule on my place. Nobody carries weapons but me. You know, I didn't really have a rule, but for those guys, I had a rule. And they got very, very agitated at that. But I realized that I even made them lift up their so I made sure they weren't carrying something strapped around their ankle. Because they had such stinking attitudes, I did not trust them. I did not want them on my property. I thought they were here to hurt me. And it was all over that labeling issue that I was trying to be proactive and fix. So that's who these people are, you know. And I'm an American GI raising chickens, butchering with my children, selling them so I can make a living. And these guys are paid by the United States Department of Agriculture, and they're arrogant jerks. You know, they're not there to help the citizen. They were there to just intimidate me and make me say, well, the heck with this. We're not making that much money anyway, and I'm getting covered with blood, and it sucks. So the hell with this. That's what they're there for, right? Where a phone call would have worked, but no, you got to drive an Interceptor up here from Detroit. Oh yeah. All right. We know who you guys are. So anyway, that is precisely what he's saying. He said, give them conditional acceptance. Like, oh, you wanna talk to me? No problem. I want this, this, and this first. No, we're not giving you that. Well, I'm not talking to you. You can go back down at Detroit in your little Interceptor, right? And then your boss will say, why didn't you talk to him? Well, because he wanted to know if we had guns. I mean, you guys don't carry guns. Yeah, but he don't got no right to know. Get back up there, right? So that was kind of the way that went. And I agree, conditional acceptance. And you can make that whatever you want. Now, when I go up here to the airport and I want to get on an airplane, it's a private airline. There's a government agent there that wants to look in my shoes before I get on that airplane. That government agent wants to tell me what I can and can take on that airplane, right? I actually was going out to a conference out in California, and I started out here. It was Weston A. Price. I happen to know those people pretty good. And Mrs. Fallon, she's the lady that runs that outfit. I was bringing her some lard from our pigs, Mangalitsa lard, in a small mason jar, right? It's solid white, and I had it in my carry-on. It's lard, right? Well, what if it was soap? Is it okay then? But the TSA agent was, what's this? I said, it's lard. She said, you can't take that on the airplane. Why not? She says, because it's liquid. I said, it's not liquid. It's solid. Look at it. You know, smell it. I ain't smelling that. That's going in the trash. That's exactly what happened that day. Because if I said no, she can say, you can't get on that airplane. The airline says, hey, sorry, you missed the flight, but we're not going to refund that. So that's that same vein of the airline is forced to work with these people, the TSA, right? Not good at all. I mean, if you've dealt with them, I mean, there's been some nice ones too, but for the most part, like up there, wow, horrible. Okay. Donnie Mono, you're a good guy because he is agreeing with me. Exactly, he says. Right, Mark. I like that. Guineas are basically a more wild chicken. Their main purpose for me is to control deer ticks, but I will harvest males for meat to keep a 5 female to 1 ratio. That sounds a little toxic to me. Why you're only eating males? Oh, okay. The females lay eggs seasonally, but they are smaller than chicken eggs. If a recipe calls for 2 chicken eggs, you would use 3 guinea eggs. Okay, cool. I don't mind the look of them, but I don't like the noise they make personally. Whenever anybody brings us chickens to butcher, guineas, they're the first to die. Ask my kids. Guineas are great for demolishing ticks, but they make a god awful noise. Eggs are pretty small. I agree with you, man. I'm agreeing with you. That's right. Donnie, I am fully prepared to harvest them if I can deal with their calls. All right. If I can't deal with them. Okay. Guinea, okay. Cornell or Cremonia primrose. That's new. Welcome. Guinea fowl are also used for guardians on a farm to make noise when the strangers arrive at the farm or dangerous predators. Huh. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think that's true. Cool. Prismatic. The EPA issued a cease and desist order on my neighbor. I wonder what for. Okay, so eggs, predator alert, pest control, and you can eat them if you have to. Thanks. They have been filling a ravine on their property for at least 14 weeks. They are up a creek no one wants to be up. Um, I don't know about that. Like, it's private property, right? So does the EPA, and I know you're going to say, yeah, they do, but they don't. Does the EPA have authority on private property? Only to the extent that you are affecting those around you. So you can't dam up a creek. Well, you probably can, you know, um, but you can't reroute to somebody else's property. You can't do things like that. And usually, what they are doing is protecting those around you. Honestly, but when you hear these horror stories, you think, "Oh, the EPA, wow, they're just like Nazis," you know. And you really got to hear the whole story. Now, I don't disagree that there's been times that they have gone way out of line, but normally, I should say, how many cases do I know of? But I would say normally, a cease and desist is, we're telling you to do this, and you have to be prepared to get a cease and desist to show them the door and say, go to hell. It's private property. But you're not going to get away with that if you're diverting a river. You're not going to get away with it. You will lose. But I have seen cases, like in our case, we had the Department of Natural Resources, pretty big outfit. It's the state equivalency of the EPA. No, state equivalency of the EPA would be the um, Department of Environmental Quality, right? Uh, it would be the anyway. They're still a very powerful organization, and they were the ones that issued the order that we had to dispossess our property because they friggin' say so. And we looked at that and, like, no, this is private property. Go pound sand. And they postured and we postured. And in the end, we prevailed because our property is our property. Yeah, it kills baby ducks if they get away, but ours aren't getting away. So their claim that, well, they could get away, a lot of things could happen, sister. A lot of things could, but it didn't. And so we did prevail in that. And I'd like to know more about that. Maybe they should be tribe members, you know? Maybe they should, because maybe there's more to that story. It's not unlike these agencies to hire people who don't care about your constitutional rights and they just want their way. That's not uncommon. State policemen are like, sometimes they'll say, I want to look in your trunk. Shouldn't even say that. But if you let them without a warrant, bad on you. Sorry about that. There was a bean in there. Slander is, yeah, I see what you're saying, but I just don't want people to say, EPA terrorist group. Um, sometimes, like, if you lived upstream from somebody that's diverting a creek that goes through your place, the EPA could be your best friend. But generally, your property is your property. Around here, people are draining wetlands, and they're doing it with the blessing of the DEQ. You see it all the time. They're tiling wetlands and draining them. Used to be that didn't happen. And I think it's only happening because they can. Like, if it's my property and I want to put in a big liner and have a pond, that's business. You can say no, but that's not going to make me. Government always overreaches, and you have to be willing to say you can back that up, right? Instead of just complying. Like, if somebody says, get out of your car, I want your car. If you just get out and give it to them, shame on you, let them work for it a little bit. And I'm the first one to say that our government and these agencies, especially, not so much the government, I don't believe, the agencies are full of thieves and beggars. And so you cannot expect them to be upright, truthful with you. You cannot expect that. You can't. We went through it. They will lie right to your face. They are working for themselves. And each one of the individuals is part of the organization, and they're trying to climb within the organization. So to climb within the organization, screw those citizens. You just do what you're told. Yeah, but it's their constitutional right. You do what you're told, or you're not going to get that corner office. That's how that works. And you have to know that. They're not there to advocate for you. They are not. And they have a lot of people in those organizations that don't understand reproduction. I'll just put it that way. Okay. I don't want to get into red flag laws. Consco. I don't want to get into that. I don't know enough, honestly. Donnie says, I'm not a fan of the state, but if people are terrible stewards of the land, I'll avert my eyes when the state knocks on their door. Yeah. And then Gretchen's saying, what about red flag laws? Are you saying, what about them? Or are you saying, what about them? Yeah. See, I don't know. I don't know that much about it. And I know it's a state to state thing. And I really don't know how they're operating that, honestly. Because the Second Amendment is very clear that the rights of the citizens to own and bear arms shall not be infringed. Is a guy that's in the mental hospital a citizen? Yes. Can he own weapons? No. So they're bringing that out into the open. It's sleazy for sure, and it'll be challenged. I don't think that red flag laws. See, I don't know. I shouldn't say. Is it a done deal? Are there red flag laws, or maybe I've been on the farm too much? Mark's offering serious value right now, says Donnie. We can hang out, brother. We can hang out. I'm not sure I'd be comfortable having this conversation publicly. Why? Pretty awesome that he's going deep. Why? You have to do that. You have the right to free speech. The most powerful weapon you have against tyranny is right here. It's your mouth. And you cannot be intimidated into keeping your mouth shut. We've just seen about 1 million medical doctors do that, and look what has happened. Now, a handful of them has come right out, and they've spoken the truth. It's going to cost you. It will cost you, but you have to do it. If you want to pass on to your children a decent place to live, you have to do it. You have to. And not only do you have to do it when it comes up, you got to go looking for it, right? If you want to put kids in government schools, you better be at those school board meetings, jacking up those blue hairs that are there. I can tell you stories about these people that are in these schools. Actually, I'll tell you a story. Some of my kids gone to school for brief periods of time, like in high school, when they got sick of me, and I was like, I'm going to go to school. And I was sick of them too. So I said, you go to school. But this is a true story. Another true story. And I've told this story on here before, but this bears repeating. This happened right down here in McBain. I think the teacher is still there. It was pretty sad what happened, but during a study hall, the study hall was in the art classroom. In the art classroom, the previous art teacher had done a project with the kids where they made tiles, almost like tiles that would be on the bathroom wall. But these were custom made tiles that the kids put art on that reflected their life, what they were about. And one girl from about 4 years before had spent the summer with her grandmother and grandfather in, I think, Alabama, probably Greenbow, Alabama. And so to signify that, she put a rendition of the Union Jack flag on there with pictures of her and some animals and a horse and this. And I did see it at one point, and it was a stretch to know that that was a Union Jack, but Union Jack Confederate flag, which is it's a legitimate flag. You may not like it, but it's legit. Just you may not like the swastika on but it's a flag, and it already happened, right? You may not like it, but anyway. So this was affixed on the wall. It was grouted to the wall with the others. And in this study hall, the teacher that was conducting the study hall went over to her desk, jerked the door or the drawer open so as to make a lot of noise and get everybody's attention, and then pulled a hammer out of that, and then dragged a chair over to the place where that was, stood up on there, and beat that thing with the hammer in front of these kids. My son was in the class. He was floored. Nobody said a word. They just sat there and watched this blue-haired freak beat the tile on this wall. And then the kids didn't even know. You couldn't even tell what the tile was. And the teacher had to say, that had the Union Jack on, and that is a racist symbol, and we will not have that in this classroom. And if that wasn't bad enough, she did it again in the presence of another study hall, a different group of kids. So she was trying to make a point that racism is bad. But her demeanor and her method of delivery was skewed at best. I mean, almost. Do you want that kid? Do you want her teaching your children or to have charge of children? High school children? I certainly don't. And I made a video about it because the school was afraid of her because she's some lefty weirdo. I don't know. Who knows how weird she is? And I made this video about it, and it went pretty viral around here. And people were like, what? Because their kids don't come home and tell the story because the kids assume because the teacher did it that it's okay, business as usual. That's not good. That is not good. And this is just the one that made it home here. And this is in Little McBain, rural community. They didn't fire her, but there was a lot of pressure put on her. And eventually they did fire her, but then they hired her back, is what I heard. Anyway, Keith is the last kid that's going to go to that school. We're not going to participate with that at all. It's just, I don't need the headache, and I don't think they're providing something that is worth a damn anyway. You know, it's too bad that the other teachers in the school don't stand up, but they're afraid because they have their house payments and their car payments and stuff. And I get it. And I don't know what the fix is on it. You would think that the superintendent, but he's got a house payment and stuff too. So you can't go beating up on a blue hair. You know, she'll probably go to Antifa and get you fired from the position. And that's the problem. We have to speak out. We have to speak out. You have to be bold, because the truth is the truth, right? So wait till you guys hear about this situation that's going on down in Macomb County. When the time is right, I'll share it with you. You're not going to believe it. But the guy is one guy. He's by himself, and the oppressors have kind of the machine, and nobody within the machine wants to say, hey man, this ain't right. What we're doing to this dude is not right, because they want to protect their jobs. So when you make the decision that you've got to do what is right, you got to lay it on the line. You don't want to just like make an anonymous phone call. No, you got to be ready to go to war, right? And I'm sorry to inform you of this, but when you go to war over an issue, it means you put it all on the table. You risk it all. When I stood up against the state, Jill and I did, over the feral swine thing, they told us depopulate animals or else. And we said, or else what? And they were like, arrest, lose your children to the state, $700,000 fine, and then we'll come in and we'll kill all your animals. We will do that. That was what they claimed they would do. And you had to have enough fortitude to say, then you do it. You do it then. I want to see you do it. And they didn't. It was just a threat. But these are adults making these threats. These are grown-up people, you know, that wear business suits and that have fancy law degrees, making these threats because they're getting pressure from above. You make this guy comply. We got to get rid of all these small farms. Where's that coming from? That was coming from high up levels in industrial agriculture that want everything. Why do they want everything? Why do they want it? Is it for more market share, or is it for control? If I told you 5 years ago that, you know what, I'm afraid these people want control because they want to control you, you'd say, yeah, right, it's on TV. You believe me now? I said it back then. I even made that comment to my, we had hired a lobbyist. And I said, yeah, it looks an awful lot like what Stalin did, you know, trying to control these people. He says, if you utter one word of that, I will resign immediately. So it's like you got a lobbyist to tell you the straight poop what's going on. But if you get too close to the real truth, he's like, I want out. Why? He's got his house payment too, right? He's got his house payment. But, you know, if everybody tells the truth, there's so few of them. What they like to do, might as well put this analogy out there. What they're wolves is what they are. And we have a government of wolves right now, unfortunately. It doesn't have to be that way, and I don't think it's going to continue to be that way, because I think it's being taken apart. The whole Babylonian system is being ripped to shreds right now. Intentionally. I'm not doing it. I'm just a spectator. But I'm watching it getting torn to shreds. And the wolves are laying low. They're laying low because they don't know what's going to happen. And if it gets ripped to shreds, completely ripped down, those wolves are going to be exposed. So a lot of them wolves are saying, "Oh no, I've been a sheep. I've always been a sheep. I'm with you guys. I'm with the sheep. I'm good. I'm with the sheep." That's what they're doing now. A lot of them are. But the ones that are really in deep, that there's no way we're going to believe that you're sheep, they're pins and needles. And so what wolves do is they want the sheep to go in the direction they want them to go. We want these sheep to go in this direction. There's nice grass over there. They'll fatten up and we can feed off of them, right? And when the sheep out of line, like what I did, and told the powers that be, no, I'm not doing it. They will bear down on you with everything they have because they cannot have the truth getting out. And so it scares them to death that the truth will get out. And someday they will not be able to walk the streets, drive the cars that they've stolen all the money to buy, right? It scares them to death that somehow the peasantry is going to fight and they're going to tear them from limb. They're really afraid of that. So what they do is they will single out one of the sheep and they'll make an example out of them. So that's what you're worried about, Donnie. You're worried about if you speak up, you're going to get singled out by a bunch of parasitic, scumbag bureaucrats and made an example of. If that happens, it's your lucky day. It's your lucky day. And I, I'm talking with people now that are powerful people too. There's a group of people, and it's not tribe; it's way outside the tribe. But my recommendation is play the same game. You don't have to get them all; just get a few of them and beat them to a bloody pulp, and let everybody see. Make an example of them. How do you do that, Mark? How do you make an example of them? Well, we're working on that. A lot of times, government bureaucrats that have taken an oath to protect and defend your constitutional rights, they are like a little dog, right? That's by a chain link fence. And they bark and snarl and, yell at people and, your people on the sidewalk walking by and they're barking at them. And then all of a sudden the gate opens up and they're like, whoop, like, I don't have the safety net of this gate in front of me, of this fence in front of me. And then it's, I better not mess with those people walking down the sidewalk. One of them might have a big stick, right? And so they yak a lot, but do they really have what it takes? Are they okay? So take a guy that farms, for instance, and makes a living farming. And let's forget me. Let's talk about Andy Zumwalt. All right, I don't think Andy's here tonight, so we'll talk about him. He's making a living farming. Do you think that's easy? You people that don't farm, you think that's easy? And he's making a living, I know, because I see the pictures and he's still in the same place. That means he hasn't lost it. So he's making a living. He's maintaining a residence where he is farming. Now, I don't know what his books look like, but he's there. Could you take one of these little bureaucrats that is a pencil pusher and, trips on power and authority? You think they could do that? No. So you put a bureaucrat up against a farmer. Oh, that's going to be a good one. That'll be fun to watch. That farmer has had to persist through everything. And he makes a living of his own sweat, his own determination, his own resolve. He has obstacles. He goes over them, under them, through them if he has to. What's this bureaucrat do? Oh, I got to be here at 8 o'clock Monday morning. Yeah, what do you do all day? Nothing, really. Whatever my boss tells me. I just got to make sure and leave a message on the. Yeah, and then they complain about everything, and they get a paycheck. So what happens to them as time marches by? You're a sleazy bureaucrat, food inspector, whatever. Any one of them are bureaucrats, and time is going by. What's happening to Andy Zumwalt as time is going by? Is he getting weaker or stronger? Is his resolve getting stronger or less? Right? Now, the only way he loses is if Andy loses, is if he quits. And I know that kid. He's not going to quit. I know he's not going to quit. No, he's not going to. What about the bureaucrat? Can you back them off? Have they got resolve when it comes to rolling onto some farm? Do they do that boldly? I don't think so. I don't. I just don't think they're that type of person. And what happens as time rolls on with them? Are they getting stronger or weaker? Yeah. We've said this before. I'll say it again. I think I should have it tattooed across my forehead. Evil is weak. Continue to build, right? Because someday it's not going to be the way it is right now. Right now at the store, let's not get into that. So Donnie, that's what I have to tell you. You have to be bold. You have to be bold, or you're going to leave a terrible mess to your children. And you also have to be a beast, a ferocious beast, right? You will do anything to protect your family, anything. And I mean anything, right? Like being a soldier. Nothing's outside of what you're supposed to do. Nothing. I mean, you don't go killing civilians or anything like that, but you're a beast, an absolute beast. And you train yourself to be even more beastly, but you're restrained. You're restrained. That is a man right there. That is a man. I think women like that. They like a man that is going to protect them and their children, right? And there are types that when they see that, they recoil. They're like, oh, I hate that. And usually they're the types that don't understand what? Reproduction. Obviously, they don't understand reproduction. Obviously. And you know what I mean? They hate men like that. But our country needs men like that. Be that man. And it ain't risky. Be a beast. Okay, Gretchen Davis. That is what I brought up. You don't have a right to face your accuser. Plus, even if you are not found guilty of anything at all, try getting your firearms back. Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that. The Anyone Can Farm experience. Much love from Estonia. Right? I love all your content. I had a couple of people went ballistic on because we were trying to explain why you take a calf from its mother if you're going to milk that calf, and why it's better to take the calf, when the calf is born instantly and not at 2 weeks. And boy, I got a lot of heat on that. I worked at a brewery. The USDA made us buy $280 stainless steel spatulas. Yeah. A lot of times when I hear that, the USDA made us, it's sort of like when I heard people say about taking the antidote, for the, people said, oh, I had to. They made me. What do you mean they made you? Man up. For goodness sakes, I'm tired of hearing that. Well, they made me. Did you hit the press the test button? Did you make them get to the point where they were about to sign the paperwork to fire you? Did you do that? Then they didn't make you. They didn't make you. Let them fire you. Or take the antidote if you want. I mean, if you took it, then obviously you didn't think there was a problem with it. So maybe there isn't, but I will have nobody telling me what I have to do. No, I cannot allow that. I cannot allow that, because then it will come and haunt my prodigy. You know, having been in a lot of different countries as an American GI, you start to realize how important the freedom in this country is. Because if nothing else, other countries say, "Ah, that's how it ought to be," and they look to that, right? Where in countries that are corrupt, there is no freedom. You know, there's so much corruption in Bolivia, for instance. They will cancel the money over a weekend, and your money becomes worthless. They'll just devalue the money. And who does it? Who knows? You know, it's so important that we, whatever we're doing, live up to our oath of office as a professional airman. That's what, if you're in the Air Force, you're an airman. If you're in the Army, you're a soldier. If you're in the Marines, you're a Marine. If you're in the Navy, you're a squid. You take an oath to protect and defend what? A document. And the document is the U.S. Constitution. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. An agency on a state level that says you have to dispossess your property because we say so is in direct conflict with the Fifth Amendment. They instantly became my enemy. What does that mean? Figure it out. What does that mean? In the bureaucrat class, they figure they can, well, we tried. Oh. That's like if you try to rape my wife. Well, I was just trying. That's not going to work. You went too far. And they went too far. They went way too far. And they have been going too far for a long time. A lot of times, though, the direct approach isn't going to change anything, right? To have a list of individuals and seek vengeance against that list of individuals, that's not going to do anything. That's not going to fix the problem. The problem is fixed when all of you know what the real rules are. That's when the problem gets fixed. And that's what this is about. See, these agencies, they have their list of rules, but the U.S. Constitution trumps that. It's sort of like Walmart has a list of rules, but the U.S. Constitution trumps that. So although it's a private organization and it is private property, so if the rules say that you can't open carry a gun in there, it's their house. You have the right to own and bear arms, but not at my house. You don't. I have the right to tell you, I don't want you carrying a gun at my house. I have that right. Well, I have the Second Amendment. Not here. It's private property. There's a difference. There's definitely a difference, right? Okay. 2 states are requiring that you register all animals on your property except parrots. I'd like to see that. I mean, I don't like what 2 states, and I don't know. Is that just a rumor or innuendo or something you saw on Facebook? Have you got documentation to back that up, Gretchen? And I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but a lot of times, like you say that, I read it, and I go, and then the people that watch the show are like, hey, did you hear? Where that is one of the weapons that they use, is they start rumors like raw milk's illegal. They start rumors. That's the nature of warfare, right? And I hate to put it in those terms, but it's probably about the time that I should be putting in those. We're at war, right? Like during the Second World War, we had divisions that were their sole focus was to lie to the enemy to make them think we had concentrations of troops here when we didn't. They were blow up tanks and blow up airplanes and everything else, make believe bases, and we'd leave a nice gap in the anti-aircraft so they could get in there and take pictures of it. Well, Hitler couldn't say, "Hey, you guys are lying to us. You lied about that." Well, that's part of warfare. Damn right we'll lie. We'll also drop bombs on your cities. We didn't start this, you did. And in most cases with these agencies, especially the Department of Agriculture, they're the one that started it. They started time. Just leave people the hell alone. Leave people on private property alone. And then you people that are on private property, you want to have a farming operation, disregard them. Don't be calling them up and asking them for the rules. Your rules are outlined in the Constitution. It's really easy. Fifth Amendment, your life, liberty, and property protected under due process of law. That means if there ain't a law against it, you can do it. So let's say you want to raise chickens. Do a Google search, laws against chickens. There ain't any. There's a bunch of regulations, but that's if you buy into their game. And you buy into their game formally with a license. Do it. All right. Oh, Gretchen Davis, she's saying, yeah, I get a thing from the USDA every year. They want to know every animal that I have on this property. It makes good fire starter. They don't, you can ask under penalty of law. Yeah. Right. Which states are they, Gretchen? Those would be places not to live. Okay. Ghost is saying, Donnie Mono love to have stainless brewing. Okay. Love the mangalitsa pigs. Konsko. We have 2 of them, and we will be getting a boar next month. It hit 20 below here in northern Washington. Wow. I was going to say, come and visit us. I've got some really nice little boars right now that I'd like to move along. Okay, Gretchen's saying she can't remember. Just today. I'll try to look it up. Okay. Konsko, state this winter, and they did fine. Oh, I see. It hit 20 below here in northern Washington state this winter, and they did fine with straw and the condo. Hey, you know what, Konsko, you probably need to be on the tribe. So if you're on Facebook, go to Anyone Can Farm Tribe. And then if you have a condo that's being used for pigs, post a picture of that. That'll be helpful. Donnie Mono says, I've never used the force of the state against anyone. I'm not sure where the line is, but there's a line somewhere. My pigs and my chickens will be unregistered. I'm not registering anything. I'm not registering. I'm not signing anything unless you're here with my lottery winnings and I got to sign for them. There's something in it for me. I'm not signing squat. I don't need, if I get a speeding ticket, I don't sign it. It's been a long time, and I probably last time I got one, I signed it, but I was wearing a uniform at the time and I just complied. But I wouldn't sign anything now. Why would I? I'm not going to play that game. I don't know, though. The cops, if I was speeding, the last time I got pulled over, I even said to the kid, yeah, you got me fair and square. I knew I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, so. I will not comply. Neither me. Neither will I. Yeah. We need to make sure we mind our own business. Yep, that's right. Yeah, our community needs to shift. Like the way it was, the one that's falling down. Uh, we saw it happen in farms in this community. They all became very individual, and they didn't share information anymore. And we cannot do that in this community. We have to help each other. And you will find that it makes perfect sense to be a member of a tribe and be willing to share information with the weaker members or the stronger members. You know, they might. I today actually on the friend of mine. This was on my regular feed. Be looking through there. They're friends of ours. We butcher chickens for them in the summertime. That's, well, I guess we're not really friends, but they've taken a couple of our classes and stuff. That's how we know them. And there was a picture and of a Great Pyrenees dog that had puppies, and they were on dirt in their barn, although they had a heat lamp on them, which really bothered me. You know, nice bed of straw and a heat lamp on there. But I could see dirt under the pups because mother will always dig the hole. And it's very cold in the wintertime. And I said on there, you get those puppies in the house. And he called me pretty quick and said, what's the story with this? And I said, those puppies have to be on a heat pad or in the house. But if they're on dirt, even if they have a heat lamp on the top of them, the ground will pull the heat out of those puppies at a rate faster than they can make it up in the wintertime, like it is here in northern Michigan. And you know, I did that out of love. It wasn't I didn't get nothing out of it, but I did it out of love. And then he called me and, yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, because I know. You know how I know? Take a guess. I lost an entire litter of puppies. Entire litter. Cloud seeding must mean chemtrails. Yeah. The fix on that is a surface to air missile or two. You can grant them access, but demand $500 an hour as a consulting fee. It'll stop them dead in their tracks. But the thing is I wouldn't trust them because they are low-level minions in the group, and you're the top guy. So, Brother Joel Salatin turned me on to this. He says, if you're a general, you don't deal with privates. Like, let's say we got a war going on, right? And you got a bunch of privates that come over and say, surrender or we'll wipe you out. This general over here is going to say, I am not surrendering to you. I will surrender to the general of your army. Right? So when the Department of Agriculture sends these flunkies to me and wants to ask questions or sign here or pay this fee, I say, no, I'm the top guy here. You send your top man out here or have him call me on the phone. I'll be reasonable. Have him call me on the phone. And if I get a call from anybody else, I said top guy. I don't talk to you minions. I'm not talking to minions. That's one way to do it. That's legit too. That's really legit. Another way you can do it is, I'm not talking to you. Put it in email and send it to me. That way there's a paper trail of everything that's said, because they are manipulative and they lie. So you get everything in writing. Okay, Donnie, I wish I could catch more of these live streams. Well, you can listen to them the next day if you want to on YouTube. Honey Kfina. All right. Well, you're up late. You're up late, woman. I made it to a live chat. Hey, everyone. Good. Good evening, honey. Yep. Luann's with us. we all are truly we all are truly fight evil. I believe they are going to make raising animals are going to nearly impossible due to them taxing us so high. No, no. If don't believe that. Don't believe that. And if it's a concern, then what you do, uh, you're at war. Yeah, they would love to do that. They would. There are entities that would like to do that. They and I don't know if it's like the Rothschilds or anything like that. It's just um, why are natural remedies looked at and poo-pooed by the medical community? Why does that happen? Well, because the medical community is financed by the pharmaceutical community. So the pharmaceutical community wants the medical community to prescribe their drugs. Makes sense, right? It's money. It's all about money, power, control. But I don't think that there's a higher up, entity that just wants killing people. I don't think so. I don't think so. Um, but I don't know. So what do you do instead of passing on information like that, that they're going to make it so expensive for us to raise animals that we're all going to die? Instead of passing that on, why don't you give me a solution to what you heard? What you heard. Well, I got a solution. It's easy. We we mob up. We mob up, and the first one of them, and I don't care what level it comes from, says, "Well, you're going to have to do this." Put so much damn pressure on them that they'd be like, "Not me, not me. I'm not doing this." I mean, think of it like this. I mean, think of a terrible thing that has happened, or a terrible story that we've heard about, and we've even seen pictures of it, where you have one guy with a machine gun, a German machine gun, a Schmeiser, MP40 maybe it is, and then 300 people, and he's getting all these people to go in train cars. And you think, well, he's just doing his job. Yeah, but he can't do it if he's dead, or if he's incapacitated, or if you can talk him out of it, or you can get his weapon away from him. I mean, so a lot of times we think that we have to go to the highest level to get things changed. No, I don't think so. And we've even taken to advising, uh, bring lawsuits against very low level bureaucrats, and you sue them personally, right? Not as a member of any organization, just personally, for especially if they're an oath taker, they've taken an oath, and then they seek to deprive you of your process that's guaranteed to you under the Fifth Amendment. When you sue them, you're citing breach of contract, and it forces them to, like, what contract? Oh, you remember when you hired in here? You remember when you hired in? You took an oath to protect and defend this man's constitutional rights, and by telling him he can't do this, you're depriving him of this process. Yeah, but I'm what I'm told. It doesn't matter. He's suing you. You can tell the judge you're just doing what you're told. See if that works. Didn't work at Nuremberg, did it? Right? And then that low-level employee is at the break room saying, "You know what? I'm being sued just for doing my job. And that son of a gun in there, he's not backing me up." No, he wants you to do his dirty work. And you should be saying, "I'm not doing it. I took an oath to protect and defend this guy's constitutional rights. And he has the right to own these pigs. It's his private property." Yeah, but I might lose my job. You got to do what's right. You got to do what's right. It'll catch you sometime. Luann says TSA. Oh, you're going to get a job with them, huh? We just got done delivering goat kiss. You kissing goats, huh? Ooh, I don't know if we want you here. Oh, kids. Right. Bills follow orders, just like restaurants. These red flag laws, I'm optimistic, and I realize that I need to learn a little bit more about it. You're telling me they had to wait till 2023 to figure this out? They've been threatening to disarm the American public since when? 1778? And how many have they taken from the public? Now, I don't mean if you're convicted of, armed robbery, then you don't get to have them. But this is just another backdoor up, and so a few people lose their guns. Does that really give tyrants enough wiggle room to really gain control? No, there's way too many guns in this country. And you should take heart too, that the community of military, like this country is different than other countries. We serve in the military voluntarily. That means our time in the military is relatively good, and we care about our training, and we get trained pretty good. The U.S. military gets trained better than any other military in the world that I'm aware of, right? We do things that other countries can't even think about doing, even mighty Russia and mighty China, with all their aircraft carriers, not, right? And then we come off active duty and we're 40 years old and our lives continue. We've had the training. We learned how to comb our hair a certain way. It doesn't change. In a lot of ways, we get additional training after that, and we become more ferocious than we were when we were active duty, especially the closer you get to 80 years old. You become very ferocious. And if you don't think an 80-year-old man can be a very force to be reckoned with, that guy doesn't have a lot to lose. It's sort of like an 18-year-old man doesn't think he can die. When he figures out that he can, then he's like, ooh, I don't know if I want to do this. Jumping out of a good plane? I don't know. Not that an 80-year-old is going to, but they can be very, very dangerous. 70 years old, 65 years old, very dangerous. 62, so I'm just a pushover. African Naaman to free speech. Met Dr. Lee Merritt, Dr. Kristen Northrup, Dr. Judy Mikovich, and others this weekend at the conference in Mount Pleasant. Whoa, that's here in Michigan. Beyond cool. White dog. Could anyone call? Could the state claim an anonymous call was placed? Yeah, I don't know about that. That just seems so contrary to our Constitution. It just does. But Hildy Stromowski. I used to know a person named Stromowski. Long time no see. All right. Good to have you. It's probably down in Florida. I'd have took that hammer to her damn car. Yeah. That's what we said. If somebody had an offensive sticker on their car, is it okay if we break their windshield? I mean, it's just that behavior was so over the top. But that's very similar to what's going on with this other fellow that's having a problem with that I can't share with you at this point, but it's very similar and the same type of person. Not a chance I'd send my kids to school. Seems to be yeah, it's not good. Oh, and Dr. Brasheen, who's event it was. Eyes wide open. I got to meet her one of these days. Macomb lower minions didn't get the memo per Janine. That's per Janine. Macomb lower minions. I don't know what that means. Huh. Gretchen, homeschooling is the best for your kids nowadays with CRT. You know, so long as you brought that up, CRT, as long as you brought that up, I've been through things like that when they had started that in the military. And you got to give people a little credit. I mean, they had this program, and it was very similar to CRT. And the room was full of adults. A lot of us were brand new in the Air Force, but there were people that were getting ready to retire force that had just gotten to the base that I had gotten to, and they heard all that. And they heard, you know, how oppressive they have been and all of that stuff. And it didn't take hold. As a matter of fact, it worked the other way. It really did. I never remember people being unkind to each other based on any of those things, but they said it existed. They said it existed, and they created problems. And I think that CRT is designed to do, but I don't know how well it's going to work because kids give kids more credit than that. They're going to see through that. Kids like who they like, and they're nice to who they're nice to. Yeah, I'm not saying that it never existed or anything like that. It's just that you read CRT and you think they've got it sewed. They don't. They any of their programs. If you listen to Klaus Schwab, you will own nothing and be happy. He doesn't have it done yet. And he's just one guy, one weird guy, right? You listen to Ocasio-Cortez, the filth that comes out of her pie hole. She hasn't gotten any of it done, right? So don't give them credit like, oh, they got it done, you know? Give our side credit, like we're coming for you, you know? Give us credit. Inga says schools around here are getting pretty hard on truancy. Michigan just passed a law on this in 2020 that parents can go to jail and CPS can take for what? For homeschooling your kids? You shouldn't pass that on. You shouldn't pass that on unless you can back it up. We homeschool our kids. I would know, right? Are my kids truant? I have the right to. No, you shouldn't pass that on. According to Cliffy, that time is within our reach. Oh, yeah. Huh. Laws are made by illegally installed politicians. Folks got to stand in their power and know the Constitution. There's more of us. I've been called a beast, a divine feminine beast. You're a beast, all right, Luann. Pretty soon, local, state, and county governments will try to control every aspect of our lives from land. Yeah, but the way you're saying that, Inga, is it's like it's going to be done. Like we can't do anything about it. These people live amongst us, right? Don't allow it. Don't give in to it like that. It's like you're saying it's going to be done, you know. You approach it like, well, they're going to try to do this, but over my dead body, they're going to get it done, you know. They tried to make my wife take it. She said, "See you later." They called it less than a week asking her to come back. Yeah, and I would have told them to go to hell. But anyway. 9 wins cryptically. Never asked permission to do anything. Yes, we're at war. I know we are. This country has been infiltrated, but from within. Only thing is, the infiltrators aren't very well trained and they're not dedicated. They are not dedicated. As soon as Antifa isn't paid, they don't burn cities. It's that easy. In a lot of ways, this war is going on. This war is going on, and it's in a lot of ways, it's almost like the Vietnam War. Um, and we were not on of the communists. The United States wasn't. We were the mercenary force. We were the ones that went in. You only had to be there a year, and then you come home unless you're some sort of fanatic. And most GIs went there and they did, what they had to, and then they came home and then they hated it and they threw their medals away and everything else. And who won? The Viet Cong won. The North Vietnamese won. They won that war against us. And that's what we have here. We have an unbelievable amount of people, of the 300 million people, that are hardworking, righteous people. I'll just put it that way. Hardworking, righteous people. They will give you the shirt off their back. They love this country. And the Great Awakening is happening. Part of it was to wake people up. And people have woken up. And now they're looking at, it's sort of like my wife does sometimes. Like she's looking over a fence when I say something she don't quite agree with. And the public kind of like that, like, say what? And the ferocity that it's being brought forward from the machine is like, yeah, that's what I said. Where before it was like, that's what I said. Jump now. They're not saying it like that anymore. They're not saying it because they know they are vastly outnumbered, right? And there is a righteous fury in this country right now. And where you have people like Donnie Mono said, I appreciate you saying this, but I wouldn't say it. Well, there comes a point where you will be leading the charge. And when that happens, there's no stopping it. And we're close. We're close to that point. But that's what a revolution is. We can't stage revolution. Revolution just happens. Like you can. Ghost says you can ban people on your private property due to race, but not if your doors are open to the public. Private property is not purely private once open to the public. Yeah, you seem to know about that. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't want to comment on that. What do you think about Duroc Mangalutsa cross? I'm kind of against it, but somebody thinks it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea. We got some Turkish Kangal ponies, cross puppies, if anyone's interested, but I doubt it. Okay. I don't know. Luann is loving this conversation. Well, it's part of tribe life. It just is. It is. If we're going to just be trounced, then let's just talk about the best way to be trounced. Oh, do you know what they're going to do to us next? Do you know? In a lot of ways, officialdom in this country act prison guards. Like they have special privileges. And it's pretty sick. But I have noticed lately that it doesn't seem to be as in your face. So I'm kind of wondering what is going. I know things are changing, and my optimistic heart tells me that they're changing for the good of what? Of the righteous American. People love Americans when you go to other countries. They love our spirit. They love our quick laugh, our can-do attitude. You're told they hate us, but that's not true. When you go to other countries, they treat you like a rock star, right? And it's not because we're rich. I mean, I've been to other countries and I didn't have enough money for food. but we were treated good. There's intrigue about the American, So, okay. This is a war for our souls and our conscience, and they are losing. That's true. That's true. There's an attitude that you have to adopt if you want to continue down this road. You don't have to do this. No one's making you do this. You can toil in your little world of self-pity. You can do that. Or you can adopt the special forces mentality. You're dead anyway. It's just a question of time. And are you going to go out in a blaze of glory? Or are you going to let them tell you what they're going to do? You think that I'm worried about red flag laws? Does taking my firearms away from me change anything? Am I defeated if I have no weapons? If I'm on a battlefield and I get disarmed, but I can still get my hands on a piece of barbed wire, I can do a tremendous amount of damage with a piece of barbed wire. Right? So almost like you quote the red flag laws as if we're screwed. We are screwed. Because your ex-wife, she can just say that your guns need to be taken away. You don't think my sheriff would say, hey, Mark, let's have a little talk. I'm getting your ex-old lady, because he's elected too. What do you think would happen in this community if they rolled in here and disarmed me in this community? How well do you think that would go over? Right? Would that work for our county sheriff or against him? Or for our prosecutor or against him? Her, whatever. It would work against them. They're like, wait a minute. So when you quote those red flag laws, the way you're quoting them or talking about them is like, we are so screwed. No. Like, first of all, what weapons are they going to get? Records show that you've got 3 22 rifles that you bought brand new, and they are registered, and so we're going to have to take those. Taking them, why? Because an anonymous tip said that you're a danger to us and yourself. Oh, you better hope, if I'm a danger, that I can't get my hands on your gun, which I probably could right now if I wanted to. You sure you want to go down this road? So do they gain anything by doing this? They don't. There's so many weapons in this country. I could lay my hands on anything that I wanted to, if I wanted to. And I'm not a gun guy. I don't carry guns. I had a long conversation with my boys today because we were going to buy some guns, some single action revolvers that they worked for, and I had to buy them, but I had to give a long conversation with them about guns. And guns are something that I would rather not have guns, because in America we see movies about people shooting other people with guns, and at the end of the day, everybody's happy. But that's not really the way it goes. If you shoot somebody with a gun, you go to jail for a good long time in a lot of cases. Not all, but in a lot of cases. And if you have a gun and you pull that gun, somebody could get hurt. Somebody could get hurt. I don't want to be the one that gets or the one that does the shooting. If I got to go someplace, I've told you this before, if I got to go someplace where I feel like I need to carry a gun, I'm not going, right? Because I'm not a soldier anymore. I don't have to do that. I'll stay where it's safe. I don't need to go any place where it's unsafe. I wouldn't live there. I wouldn't have my kids in neighborhoods like that. I think it's horrible, But if you have a gun, things can happen. Tempers flare, a gun falls out of your belt and somebody picks it up. Hey, guy's got a gun. No, I don't want nothing to do with that, right? I don't think that gunplay is something that should be taken lightly at all. At all. I don't like the feeling that I have when I have a gun on me, which I haven't done that in 20 years. Well, 18 years. Pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, I don't go any place where I'm carrying a gun because I think there might be a human being that might want to kill me, you know. I don't do that. No. Don't do that. There's too much fishing to do. Okay, what's going on? All right. I don't think we can solve the divide in our country peacefully. The left wants to remove our highly modify the Bill of Rights too much. Well, okay, again, then do it. You know, make an amendment to the Constitution. Let's see you do that over guns. That would be very, very difficult. Very difficult. Yeah, I see. No, I like you too. I see that you agree with me, and I like people who agree with me. Running amok. Yeah. Consco. But I just said that I think that they're really toning it down because there's a level of fear. You know, all the king's horses and all the king's men, they at some point they had to be brought within the castle walls. You don't think that the king that lived in the castle wanted those stinking soldiers and their smelly horses within the confines of the castle, do you? But eventually they had to, because the peasants had pitchforks and they were pissed. And that's where we're at now. Only thing is, we got pitchforks too. I mean, we got more than that. I mean, I believe that most people are heavily armed these days. And when I say heavily armed, I think you might think something different, you know, as a non-military type. Heavily armed to me isn't, you know, I got a Glock 19. You know, that's not heavily armed to me. A heavily armed is a deer rifle. That's a tremendous amount of firepower there, right? And you can hit the guy in the next county with it, you know, if you know what you're doing. And there's a lot of people that are highly trained in doing that, and they could create a lot of havoc. We don't want that happening here. We don't. And these officials that have run amok, they're telling people that you can't carry a pistol, and then we got to get the deadly AR-15 away from you. It's kind of a joke in a way. I mean, if you run in military circles, the AR-15 rifle is the service weapon that we still use. We don't call them that. We call them M4s, and they're tweaked a little bit, and they have a little bit different bells and whistles on them and stuff, but it's basically the same weapon. And that's not what killing gets done with on battlefields. It's usually the deer rifle from a few hundred yards back. You know, you have a line, and then a few hundred yards back where it's safe, you have a guy on a telescope, and he's the one that's doing it. Okay. I got to get going. We're over 2 hours. I have been all over the world, and I have been treated very well. Of course, that is how I treat others to the extent possible. Yep. A red flag law is just an example of our government running away with power and authority. You know, though, the good thing about our government, I mean, I'm not one of these that wants it all wiped out. I think that there's bad people that need to be elected out and good people put in their place. And I think that a lot of the mechanisms that were in place to keep bad people in place are being torn down. I I used to get up in the morning and I would come out and I'd think, I'm going to look at my phone and Hillary Clinton's going to be in chains and there's going to be a real picture of her in chains, you know. But it never happened. And this morning I said to Jill, "You ever notice we never hear anything about Hillary Clinton like in a long time?" Yeah, you don't. Or Bill Clinton. Or I mean, there's a whole slew of them. If you think that's the real Joe Biden that they keep propping up in front of us, I don't think it is. It doesn't even look like the same dude. So I'm not sure that a lot of this Babylonian system hasn't been gutted. I personally was in Washington in the summer. That's a ghost town, right? So I thought it would be a bustling city, but it was not. There was a lot of buildings that were just closed, and they're saying, "Well, yeah, COVID. A lot of people are working remotely." How do you work remotely? I don't know. I don't get it. Yeah. There will be. Oh, neat. According to statistics, there will be 500 million firearms in private hands by August. Yeah, it's a pretty big army. I think all the deer hunters in like 3 states is about the same amount of people as something like that, like the standing army that we have. Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions out there about struggles like that. I know. All right. Okay. I just got a good night. Owned firearms for 51 of 61 years. Never had a single issue. I love all things mechanical. Firearms are functional art. Well, we could hang out. Yeah. I do like guns, and I own quite a few of them, and I do hunt deer, or I say I do. I usually am too busy to do it, and because if I shoot one, it means then I have to gut it and everything. My kids do, and I enjoy shooting. I still have some firearms that I owned when I was in the military. So, yeah, I like them too. I'm not as into them as I was. I used to think, wow, when I grow up, I'm going to have one of these. I'm going to have one of these. I like a whole lot more getting guns for my kids that are into them because my dad would never let me have a gun until I was, much older. Huh. Aiden, good day. I'm back. I finally made it to the U.S. on an ag exchange ranch in South Dakota. They're conventional, so it sucks, but I'm happy I'm here. I'll have to come visit someday. Yeah, you should. You should. Uh, but live, 35 miles from Mark. Come visit. That's the way I'm saying that. That must be. She must be saying Aiden should come visit her. Ghost says, "Yeah, you're right. They always have body doubles, especially nowadays. Zelensky's doubles have been shown with him many times." Yeah, this whole thing that they're playing out in front of you, you know, I don't know. It's a joke. And who knows why they're doing it. I I don't know. Sometimes I think I know, sometimes I think I understand it, but it doesn't matter at my level. I believe that there's two forces that are at it. I don't think either force really has a heart for the masses. I don't know. I could be wrong. Like maybe President Trump does. Like he enunciates that he does, but I don't know. I think there's just these two forces that are going at it, and we're like collateral damage. So, do they really care what I say, Donnie Mono? Do they really care? Uh, I was having a conversation with a gal yesterday, a milk customer, and she says, "Oh, I really like talking to you because you you dive deep into stuff." And I said, "You haven't heard anything. You have not heard anything." And she said something like, "Yeah, well, I draw the line at this." And she says something about 9/11. And she said, "Do you know how many people would have to be sworn to secrecy in order to keep that quiet?" And I said, "You've got organizations out there, and I know a guy that's a very smart man, very, very smart, probably the smartest man that I know personally. And he's a member of this engineers and architects, or architects and engineers for 911 truth. And it's the real deal. These guys are signing on to it. I don't think there's one in there that's less than 60 years old. And they're signing on to it, everything they have, and saying they're calling BS on the reports that have come out from transportation safety, NIST, NIST. And they've been to court in New York City. So it's not like people are saying, "I think it's an inside job." These guys are in court saying, "No, here is the evidence that this was, uh, that charges were set in these buildings inside." And they've been in court, and these are very educated people. But the entities that are doing this, they don't care about the truth. They've got the media. The media will brand these guys as nutcases, and they'll just keep pressing on, right? What do you think is going? What do you think happened during the Gulf War? You think that was real? I mean, done for legitimate reasons? No, it wasn't. Well, not at all. I mean, but if you listen to CNN, oh yeah, we had to get that Saddam Hussein boy, because if we didn't, boy, he would. Same thing with Vietnam. We had to do that. We had to do that because next thing you know, you're going to have North Vietnamese in New York City. North Korea? Oh yeah, North Korea. For goodness sakes, they're gonna nuke Chicago if we don't. Really, they're gonna nuke Chicago, right? They don't even have fixed wing aircraft, and they're gonna nuke Chicago. Like the Chinese. The Chinese, man, look out for them Chinese. They don't have aircraft carriers. Oh, I take that back. They do. They have two. One of them they bought from the Ukrainians, right? That was supposed to go to Russia, but then Ukraine split from the Soviet Union, so they sold it to the Chinese. Only thing is diesel powered, so it can't go in deep water. They can put around off the coast, and try to land airplanes back on it, but they haven't quite figured that one out yet. So, but you're told all this terrible stuff, like how, hypersonic weapons. God, it's so funny. All right, I got to get going. Oh, wait a minute. I better listen to this because Donnie thinks I misunderstood him. I think anything nearing legal remedy should be described. Oh, okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. But I don't know as I misunderstand you, and I don't know if I agree with you. If, like, I think it needs to be right out there in the open that people who knowingly violate our Constitution, we need to hang them. I think we need to be seeing that. I think there needs to be a chorus of that. Right? That's the solution. They want to trounce the constitutional rights of the citizenry. They need to be hung. That's a solution. What, we're going to convince beggars and thieves and bureaucrats and parasites that they need to change their ways? Well, how do they do that? Get into intramural sports? That's not what they're about, man. That's not what they're about. The only thing you can do is make things so difficult that they keep it to themselves, that they don't gang up in the agencies and work against people. They, Thomas Jefferson said, when the people fear their government, you have tyranny. Now, we have a governor in this state, and these agencies are contractors for her. But they're actually working in her favor because she's a tyrant too. She could do something about it. Maybe. I don't know. Did the agencies get her elected? Or did we, the people, elect her? I never even heard of her before she won. I mean, this is just the way it is. By putting it out there in the open, does it change it? No. But the best disinfectant for a lot of this is just sunlight. Like, oh, you're a mob boss, huh? A&E, 9/11 Truth is a good organization. Oh, architects and engineers, in my opinion. They had the guts to stand up for the truth. Yeah, and they're standing up against murderers. They're standing up against murderers, but they did it in chorus, and that's what we're doing here. We're doing this. This is a chorus, the chorus of me. But I don't think so. I don't think it is just me. Trudeau. All right. Yeah, I got to go because it's been 2 hours and a half. All right. I'm going to go. And this was a very impromptu stream. Appreciate everybody hanging in there. Let's see. Nothing going on tomorrow night. Maybe we'll do a little impromptu. I don't know. We'll see. I got some visitors coming this weekend. You guys remember I interviewed Neethi Bali a long time ago, and she's come for it this weekend. So, all right. We'll see you. Talk to you next Tuesday. Hang in there. Be tough and be bold.